Hi and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today's video is episode 8 of my Beatles UK album series, so please come and join me. So hello and a fabulously warm welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel today. Hope I find all you fantastic Beatles people doing really well out there, and thank you for joining me on the channel. Well, the subject for today's showing is the Beatles UK album series episode 8, and we continue with the UK 1960s pressings of a collection of Beatles oldies, but of course Goldies LP. And I've got quite a few nice ones to show you guys today, so stay tuned. So in this series, as previously mentioned, I will only be showing original pressings that were made between March 1963 and May 1970. Right then, now it's time for something completely different, and it's called Ask BeatleDave, yeah! So yes, it's time for Ask BeatleDave, where I'll be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related, or perhaps any item that I've shown, or items I haven't shown. Absolutely anything you want to ask me, and I'll endeavour to answer it for you. So today's question is from David Rainey. Hi David, hope you're well. And he asks, why did the Delaney and Bonnie album not come out on Apple Records' Sapcore 7? So really then, the short answer of that is after recording their Accept No Substitute album at Elektra Studios, and upon George Harrison actually hearing the tapes of the album, he basically signed them to Apple, and even though they were actually signed at that point to Elektra Records. So anyway, Apple actually planned to release the album as Delaney, Bonnie and Friends. However, Elektra, they declared that the Apple contract was actually void, but not before a batch of the vinyl had already been pressed. But obviously no covers had been pressed at that point. So anyway, this album is probably one of the rarest Apple associated items, and actually as a side note, Trash were also slated the Sapcore 7 catalogue number for an LP release in June of '69, but once again that release never happened either. So hopefully David, that answers your question for you. So if you want to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, just send me a question in the comments and I'll include it in a future episode. It's that simple. So come on guys, please please me by getting involved and ask me some super questions. Well now it's time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to them old shout outs, and it's a big BeatleDave hello to all kinds of collecting, Fumesy3H, Grover Baker, John Mates, hi John, how you doing? Mark, Martin Robinson, hi Martin, hope you're well mate. Coco Man and Walter Anagaran. That's a big hi from yours truly, BeatleDave. So on to the main event then today, and we continue with the Beatles original UK album series episode 8 and onto a collection of Beatles oldies, but Goldies LP. So please come and join me. The album, a collection of Beatles oldies but Goldies, was released by Parlophone Records in the UK on the 10th of December 1966. The Beatles had absolutely no involvement in the project, and according to Tony Barrow, the Beatles themselves were totally opposed to what was to become the band's first official compilation LP release. The album features hit singles and other songs issued between 1963 and 1966, as well as the UK first appearance of the song Bad Boy. The LP now served as a stopgap release to satisfy EMI's demand for product during the Christmas period. The cover is a painting by artist David Christian, who captured the vibrant colours then popular in London's Carnaby Street. The artist also showed the band's new psychedelic image, which would be unveiled in the film clips for the two songs on their next single. The compilation peaked at number 7 on the UK albums chart and was the first Beatles LP not to reach number 1 when all the band's previous albums had held the top spot. So let's take a look. So here is then a collection of Beatles oldies but goldies. We're going to be starting with the mono edition. Now there is only 2 different variations of the mono pressing that exists, and they've both got a different type font. But both the matrix numbers are exactly the same with them. Anyway, it's catalogue number PMC 7016 on the black and yellow parlophone, released on the 10th of December 1966. So we're going to start with this fabulous looking David Christian designed cover. A really fantastic looking cover then. You got the mono indicator top right there. Got a price of 36 and 6, which is around, I would think, about £1.80, my guessing actually. And you've got like a cartoon image of the Beatles there with the car. And we've got a collection of Beatles oldies in a drum with the trademark parlophone details there. And on the back, we've got all the track list in there. Got some superb tracks on here. The Beatles obviously didn't want anything to do with this album. I suppose they thought of it as a bit of a cash grab, I'm guessing. But I'm actually surprised actually that Please Please Me wasn't actually included in this particular album, which is a bit of a shame. But obviously the only new track being Bad Boy, but that one had been released in America for some time. And then on the right hand side there we've got the mono numbers and the stereo numbers, available in stereo number, PCS 7016. And the backwards image of the guys there, slightly different image, reversed. On the Japanese version we've got the correct looking image. And then we've got But Goldies, collection of Beatles oldies but goldies. There we go, we've got the trademark details, 33 and a third. EMI Records Limited with the Hayes Middlesex, England. And they're printed and made by Garrett and Lofthouse there. There is no EJ Day versions of the mono sleeve. That's a really nice looking sleeve, that one. Let's just take a look at that spine. A really sharp one. So with this mono copy then, we've got the patents applied for, white inner bag, but you could have also had the Emitex inner or even the black advertising bag, which would have come with this LP. That's in good shape as well. So onto the vinyl then. And the font on this particular variation is the Times New Roman type. I believe the other one is the sans serif, but this one is in absolutely superb shape, this record, really beautiful. Got some great mono mixes on here, Paperback Writer, We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper, all fantastic stuff. You've got the Sold in UK details there below the Parlophone logo, with the Gramophone Company Limited rim, and the circled P, this time with 63, 64, 65 and 66, with the catalogue number on the right there, PMC 7016. And the matrix on side 1 is XEX 619-1G. That's real super shape, that one. So let's flip that over, and once again on side 2 we've got that Sold in UK details there, with the Gramophone Company Limited rim on the perimeter. And you've got the circle P, 63, 64, 65 and 66. And the matrix on side 2 is XEX 620-1G. Really great looking record, this one, really nice. So on to the stereo pressings then, this one being the very first pressing, released on the 10th of December 1966, catalogue number PCS 7016 on the black and yellow parlophone. Let's just take a look at that cover first, and this is actually an EJ Day cover. Now there is no mono EJ Day covers on that issue, but on the stereo issue, on the EJ Day ones, the stereo is actually on the colour image itself. But we'll come to another one in a minute and I'll show you the difference in the 2 covers. But once again, we've got a fabulous looking cover that's really gloriously clean, this one. Lovely laminate, really fantastic. But these EJ Day covers are slightly more rounded, whereas the G&Ls are just slightly more squarer on the spines. We're going to take a look at the reverse. And once again, you've got the track list in there with the important stereo details, the stereo number. Once again, the image is exactly the same image, which is the wrong way round. And you've got the Buck Goldies with the parlophone details, long play, EMI, and the Emitex details. And at the bottom then, we've got the EJ London West 1 with the parlophone, mono and stereo numbers. And then we've got the spine, as you can see, slightly more rounded, and there it is. So of this pressing, we've got the Emitex original rice paper, tracing paper type bag. This one's in really great shape. It's a nice one. So on to the original stereo first pressing vinyl then. And this one's got the Times New Roman font on this particular vinyl. But there was a number of tracks actually specifically remixed to stereo for this project. She Loves You was mixed to fake stereo. And I Want to Hold Your Hand, We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper and also Paperback Writer were all given a stereo mix for this project. This Boy was mistakenly remixed as they thought it was This Boy instead of Bad Boy. So that was another little mistake they made at the time. But obviously This Boy being its first stereo mix in 1966. So on this pressing then, we've got the large stereo indicator above the parlophone logo. And you've got the Sold in UK details there below parlophone, with the gramophone company rim and the circle P with the 63, 64, 65 and 66 details, with the stereo number to the right, and then you've got all the track details there at the bottom of the label. And matrix on side 1 is YEX 619-1G, and that's a really beautiful stereo press in there, really nice looking. And let's turn that over. And on side 2, once again, you've got that large stereo indicator there with the parlophone logo and the Sold in UK details below that. And you've got the gramophone company rim. Once again, you've got the P, circle P, 63, 64, 65 and 66 with the catalogue number to the right. All the track details there. And also the matrix on this side is YEX 620-1G. Real super looking disc. So on to the second stereo pressing which I have here, which is variation A, catalogue number PCS 7016 on the black and yellow parlophone. This was released approximately 1968. This is actually a Garrett and Lofthouse cover, and if I show you this cover and the previous cover which I had, so I put these two together and you can see the difference in the wording where the stereo sits. Obviously the stereo at the top is exactly like the mono version that I showed at the beginning, and the EJ versions have the stereo slightly lower. So let's just take that out of the way. So once again then, we've got a fabulously looking laminated cover there, really nice image, really lovely. Looks really great, this one, really nice and clean. I'm going to turn that over. Once again, you've got the same details as the previous stereo version, all the track details there with the important stereo information, the stereo number, that backwards image again of the Fabs, the Buck Goldies, and then you've got the trademark, long play, EMI Records, Hayes Middlesex, Emitex, and of course on this one you've got the printed and made by Garrett and Lofthouse, limited patents pending, with the mono and stereo numbers. And obviously these are slightly more squarer on the spines. So we've got the sepia toned EMI printed in a bag for this particular copy then, from around about 1968. We've only got the one Beatles LP on this particular one, but there's a whole collection of albums on there. So on to the vinyl then. And the actual font type on this issue is the sans serif type. Now as you can see on this particular version, the actual stereo indicator above the parlophone logo is slightly smaller. You've still got the sold in UK details, which obviously was still on there in 1968. You've got the Gramophone Company Limited. You've got the P 1963, P64, 65 and 66 as well. You've got the PCS details to the right, the actual catalogue number, and if you notice there's actually a little dot just after the PCS there. Slightly different variation, this one. But this is also in very great shape, this one. Slightly different text, as I say, than the previous version. But the matrix on side 1 is YEX 619-1G, which is exactly the same as the previous version. And then we'll flip that over. And there again, you've got the same details, got the small stereo, got the sold in UK details there below the Parlophone, Gramophone Company rim, the P63, 64, 65 and 66, with the PCS and the dot there with the 7016. And the matrix on this side is YEX 620-1G, exactly as the previous one. Once again, this is in absolutely stunning condition. Really beautiful. So on to the next stereo edition which I have here. This is actually still the second pressing of the stereo album. This is variation B, catalogue number PCS 7016. This was released approximately late 1968. And firstly, we'll take a look at the cover and the differences on this particular cover. And the first thing you'll notice is that there's no stereo wording on the top right whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. This is still another great cover. It's really, really nice laminate. Got all the same details as before, minus the stereo details top right. And then we'll flip it over. And then we'll find out we've got the track list in there with the stereo important details. And of course you've got the stereo number there with the image of the guys. And all the same details as before with the Garrett and Lofthouse patents pending details with the mono and stereo numbers. And also the spine. So on to the inner bag, which is the same sepia tone type as the previous one. So on to the vinyl then. And once again, the font is exactly the same as the previous one, being the sans serif type. Now, as you can see on this particular label, the stereo indicator above the Parlophone logo is actually to the right of the Parlophone, just hanging over the edge there. Slightly different than the previous one. And obviously you've got the sold in UK details again there, obviously because this is from 1968. You've got the Gramophone Company Limited rim with the P63, 64, 65 and 66 details. And then of course we've got the PCS, and again you've got that dot just after the PCS there, 7016. And the matrix on side 1 is exactly the same as the previous one, YEX 619-1G. And then we'll flip that over, and it's exactly the same on this side. You've got that stereo just hanging over the edge of the Parlophone there. Got the sold in UK details again, with the Gramophone Company Limited rim, with the 63, 64, 65 and 66 circled P there. And you've got the PCS with the dot after it as well, 7016. And this is another superb copy, this one, from 68. Really lovely looking. And also the matrix on this side is YEX 620-1G. So we've reached the final copy which I'm going to be showing today then. This is the third pressing of a collection of oldies but goldies. This was around from summer 1969 to approximately November 1969. Catalogue number PCS 7016 on the black and yellow Parlophone label. And once again, this is another stereo copy, as I mentioned. And there's no stereo indicator on this top right again. Another really superb looking sleeve. That's a great laminate on there. Really nice, good shape. And then we'll flip that over. And there you've got the song titles, top left as usual. The stereo important details with the stereo number. The backwards image of the guys. And all the other information as on the previous editions. With the printed and made by Garrett and Lofthouse, patents pending, mono and stereo numbers. and then we've got our spine. Once again, we've got this sepia tone EMI inner bag with all the fabulous LPs of the time, which you could have got, obviously. And obviously one album being on there specifically, Sgt. Pepper. This one's in great shape, this one. So the very final vinyl I'm going to show today then is the final vinyl of the 60s for this particular album on the black and yellow parlophone, released in late 1969. There is no sold in UK details on this particular version, as you can see. Now you've got the stereo indicator, which is above the parlophone, more towards the left, above the O and the N on this particular version. You've got the Gramophone Company Limited on the perimeter rim, with the P 1963, 1964, 65 and 66 there, with the PCS .7016, and the matrix on side 1 is YEX619-1G. Another great looking record, and we'll flip that over for side 2. Once again, you've got the stereo above the, sitting above the O and the N on the parlophone there on the logo. No sold in UK details. Got the P 1963, 64, 65 and 66. You got that Gramophone Company Limited on the perimeter with the PCS .7016. And finally, the matrix number on side 2 is YEX620-1G. That's another fantastic looking vinyl. So thank you all for tuning in today on BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Hope you've enjoyed seeing those original 60s oldies but goldies that I have. And any comments that I get from any of you, of course, I will reply just as soon as I can. So the next original UK album series will be back again next month with the 55th anniversary edition of the one and only Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And boy, have I got some fantastic variations to show you Beatle people. Wow, it's absolutely amazing. Anyway, in next week's video, I will be doing an update video of my Beatles UK reel-to-reel tapes with a selection of recently acquired ones that I didn't have. So don't miss that. Same Beatles time, same Beatles channel next week. So anyway, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, why not give us a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off.